So let's talk about fertilizer for a second, because when you first start gardening, it's an overwhelming landscape of there's all these different fertilizers and ratios and all this stuff you've got to learn, and it's really pretty simple. If you're making your own soil mix, let's talk about soil, because that's really where everything lies, is with the soil. So we haven't talked about how to make the soil mix for the smart pots yet. So there's a couple of different options, and this is for either the smart pots or for a raised bed. It's the same mixture, so it doesn't matter which way you're doing. If you're doing it in the ground, things are different, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's a lot of work, and we're talking about what people actually do on their weekends and what we have time to do. So that's what I'm focusing on here. So with the smart pot or the raised bed, you can make your own soil mix from combining 3 different ingredients together. And we have a blog post on our website. If you go on our website and just search for soil mix, you should be able to find it there. But this is basically what you do. You take the first ingredient is vermiculite, so you can substitute perlite instead. They're interchangeable, but it's just this. If you've ever seen potting mix, it has those little white flakes in it. That's what this is. It's a rock that is mined out of the ground and heated until it explodes and becomes like popcorn, and now it absorbs water really well. So that's all it's for, is to help regulate moisture. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else other than regulate moisture. So it's important to have, though, especially in these containers. The second ingredient is coconut coir. So you can buy these in big bricks. We have links to them in the app. Here's one of them that we do for seed starting, but we have another one in there somewhere too for the larger one. And when we first started, we did peat moss. I've switched to coconut coir for a couple of reasons. Number one, I really like the consistency of the soil with coconut coir better than peat moss because it has the little fibers from the coconut in it, and it just seems like it creates better texture for the soil. The peat moss is very fine and it just doesn't add as much structure as the coconut coir does. And then also, this is a renewable resource, so they can keep making this indefinitely as long as there's new coconut trees. Peat moss is being mined out of a forest that is not producing more peat moss quickly, at least. So there's those ideas as well. So that's the second ingredient, and then the third ingredient is compost. So ideally, you want to get compost from a variety of sources. And the idea behind that is this: if you ate the same thing every day, you would not be a healthy person, right? Well, plants are kind of the same way. If they eat the exact same thing every day, they're not going to be healthy, and compost is their source of food. So if you have compost that comes from a variety of sources, so compost from a cow, compost from vegetables, compost from a rabbit, compost from worms, like all these different sources. Mimic Materials, they got a booth in the other building. I've had really good success with their compost, and they have 3 different types. So you can get 3 types there. I'll go and get like a third of a scoop of each and have them put in the back of my truck, and then I kind of mix it as I'm unloading. So there's 3. We have a Flemish giant rabbit. It's like a 20-pound rabbit that makes a lot of compost. So we used to have 3, but that's a sad story. So, but anyway, it makes a lot of compost. So, and then the bedding from the cage and all that goes into the compost, and like that's a good source. We have a worm bin, and our 4-year-old is our official worm farmer. She checks them every day. She loves them a lot. So all of our kitchen scraps and coffee grounds and all that goes into our worm bin that's right outside the kitchen door. That's a great source. So we have all these different things that we're using together. So it's not unrealistic to get to that 5 compost. It's one trip to the store, and I guess you got to have a rabbit, but you can get rabbit stuff. There's other ways to find stuff. So anyway, you mix those 3 things together in equal parts, and that's your soil mix. Vermiculite can be a little expensive, so if you need to back off on it, you can. It's okay. But that's how you make your own soil mix. You can also buy the bagged soil mix from the store, but you're going to spend a lot more money. And the compost probably isn't going to be as high quality as when you get it on your own too. So I really recommend making your own.